KitGuru is with Alphacool at Computex 2024. I'm holding in my hand something absolutely tiny, which is their new DDC pump, about which they are very excited. And I'm standing next to something utterly ridiculous. No, I do not mean our cameraman. I mean this cooling system. This is a 4U unit, and this is a 2U unit. This is the controls, this is the cooling. It can cool up to 12 kilowatts of server hardware. In essence, we've got a bunch of pumps here, ganged up. Those fans roaring away are blowing air to keep the pumps cool. You can see the power supply, a whole bunch of electronics. Here we have the reservoir. If you look in the cooling box, we can see the radiators, multiple, and also the fans. You see the hoses, which would ordinarily loop off to the server racks that they are cooling. 12 kilowatts, that's about 6 Blackwell NVIDIA graphics cards, which gives you some perspective on this whole AI thing, which is just absolutely nuts. Impressive to see. Must confess, I didn't realize Alphacool was so heavily invested in the server side of things. In fact, let's give you a quick walk along their server racks. We're going to very quickly walk down a wall of their server racks. It's a 4U server with the Supermicro motherboard. Next to that, another 4U. Then we get to a 2U server with a Supermicro motherboard. The thing here is all this hardware is made by Alphacool. Another 2U is Supermicro, and then some skinny 1Us, also with Supermicro motherboards. Again, all the metalwork is by Alphacool. There are various nifty features inside to do with how you can configure them, but it's not really our territory. We're more interested in PC gaming, and that's why we love hardware such as this. Now, we saw most of this hardware at CES, so we're familiar with their various CPU blocks. But just look at that lovely little pump reservoir housing. Isn't that just neat as anything? And naturally it has RGB. The significance of this little DDC pump that I'm holding in my hand, it has a flow rate about half that of a regular DDC pump, but about twice that of Alphacool's usual DDC LT pump. So it's a formidable little operator. And it's all about that rotor there, which is just absolutely nuts considering the tiny size. And the idea is it can be used to power absolutely microscopic pump reservoir units, but there's some more shiny hardware around here. I have to say, this is the kind of hardware that really grabs my attention. You can easily imagine building a mini ITX PC with an SFX motherboard with this at the heart of your cooling system. And as I flip it over, you can see where the pump goes. So it's a multi-part assembly, naturally. And when I pull off the plastic rear cover, you can see the control circuitry inside the pump. Amazing little piece of hardware. We have a slightly larger reservoir here, but this unit to the right is for cooling your SSDs. As you can see, it's PCI Express. Obviously you need to dismantle it to get inside, and there you have the in and the out for the liquid flow. I'm going to hold up my hands on this one and say that this particular pump housing is somewhat lost on me. So you obviously install the pump there, you're mounting it on those two bracket holes there, and the fluid goes in and out there. That's obvious. We put the logo the correct way up, but where exactly do we then mount it in our case? I'm going to leave this one to James to answer, but if you have any views, do please comment below this video. To put this in context, this is a conventional Alphacool Apex VPP pump, and when I put the new DDC next to it, you can see the amount of space that they're saving. However, it's not just space, it's also power. Alphacool is very keen to save on energy, and if everything can run low and slow at idle, not only is it going to save power, it'll also be beautifully quiet. And we move on to some more conventional examples of Alphacool hardware. This is the Core DDC 0, which is a 360mm AIO for your CPU. And compared to the AIOs we saw from Alphacool in the past, it's a neat and tidy piece of hardware. I'm fairly confident that's a screen that illuminates, but of course it's not powered, so we can't see that. And I've no doubt James will be reviewing one of these quite soon. What we won't be reviewing anytime soon are pro-level water blocks for server CPUs. We saw these at CES, formidable pieces of hardware. So that's obviously got a carbon finish, and that's regular acetal. And they are available for both Intel and AMD. Reference design water blocks for NVIDIA RTX graphics, naturally. It still amazes me that even water blocks are huge pieces of kit. Let me just turn this sideways so we can get a bit of a profile on it. Chunky, great big boy. But it's the Core 2 tube reservoir that I particularly like. This has a D5 pump in the floor. We have some RGB lighting inside the top cap. We saw this at CES of this year. However, it was only then getting close to available. Apparently 6 months later, it is now very close to available. But look at this. That is how you attach it. To the reservoir. And I'm confident pushing on the tube with some force, because that is glass, not plastic, and it's as strong can be. Next to the Core 2 tube reservoir, a D5. He says, moving the product card, we have some Apex Stealth fans. James has done a feature with these, and they're available, as you can see, in multiple colors. Nice pieces of work. While they're decent fans, they're not, as we had originally hoped, the world's finest fans, but they are good fans. And then we have a variety of bits and pieces that we have previously seen, although these quick disconnects, hang on, put it the right way. These quick disconnects, I've played with at CES, and I haven't yet experienced them in my own PC. But I really want to. Those are gorgeous bits of hardware. It's worth pointing out, all of this hardware is manufactured by Alphacool themselves. They have their own factory in China. I understood they worked in association with a factory in China, but apparently no, it is theirs. So while the German staff is relatively tiny, they have an awful lot of employees around the world busy manufacturing their components. However, one piece of hardware that Alphacool does not manufacture themselves is the Apex Pro Skeleton carbon case. Again, we saw this at CES earlier this year, and we'd seen it previously. It is now apparently finally landed in Germany. It's expensive. The combination of CNC machined metalwork and carbon tubes, plus tempered glass, adds up to about 500 for the bare chassis, and when you add in the distro plate, you're close to 900. Apparently that gives them almost no margin, so it's plenty of cost in the components, very little money for Alphacool themselves. And while we feel sympathy, what we most want is a sample for James to use in an actual build. And we're going to sign off in front of this Apex Supernova external station. It's a cooling system in a box, costs plenty. I seem to recall it said about 900 euros. You've got a huge radiator inside, fans, a reservoir. Funnily enough, they've included some RGB you can see through this window, and a pump. And then you connect hoses at the back, which are your in and your out. So it's an entire cooling system in a box. All you need to do is to add fluid. To my eyes, it's crazy nuts and very smart. I just wish to goodness they had an example with the side panel removed so we could take a good look inside. This is KitGuru with Alphacool at Computex 2024. It's kitguru.net on the web, and we're on TikTok.